Hey healthy growers, this is Kelly with MMC Let's Grow Healthy, and today I wanted to talk to you about selecting a garden space. Before jumping into this video, I wanted to go over a couple of garden safety tips. Number 1, you should wear some closed-toe shoes when working outside to protect your feet from injury. Number 2, if you're out in the sun, wear sunscreen. Number 3, make sure to stay hydrated, especially if you're going to be working outdoors for longer periods of time. Be sure to drink lots of water. And number 4, if there are mosquitoes near your area, please be sure to wear repellent so that you don't get a lot of bug bites while you're outdoors. There's a few things that we need to keep in mind when we're selecting the best available location for our garden. The first thing that we should consider when selecting the best available location for our garden should be the sun's orientation to our garden. In order to do this, we should go onto an online map and figure out which way our garden will be facing. When we type our address onto an online map, we can change the settings for it to be on satellite view, and it should look a little something like this. So let's talk a little bit about this image. The north is the most optimal for a garden space because it will always have sunlight unless there are trees there. It will never get shade. It's not shaded by anything. The east and the west are also really good spots. They're pretty ideal because they'll get plenty of sun and some shade. The south side is usually not preferable because it can be very shady. What I want to do next is figure out how much sunlight these areas of my garden are getting. The very first thing that I did is sun charted. Sun charting sounds a little complicated based off the name, but it's actually quite simple. You just need to set aside some time for it and maybe a reminder or two on your phone. What you want to do when you are sun charting is either snap a couple of pictures or write down a couple of things. You're going to go to the area where you want to place your garden. So if I wanted to put my garden in this area here, I would take my very first picture around 6 or 7 in the morning. Ideally, it should be when the sun rises, but as early as possible is okay. What I want to do from there is snap a picture or write down how much sun it's getting. Is it getting full sun, some sun, no sun? Is it just shade? Is it partial shade? We can either write down in detail how much sunlight it's getting, or you can snap a picture. You want to do this every hour until the sun sets. If you can't get it every hour, every 1 to 2 hours is okay too. Ideally, we want to do it every hour from sunrise to sunset to get the best idea of how much sunlight that area is getting. So I actually snapped a couple of pictures for 2 areas in my garden, and I want to show those to you and what kind of sunlight my garden is getting. I started sun charting at 9 in the morning and did this until 6 in the evening. After 6 in the evening, there was no longer any sunlight hitting either of these areas, so I didn't think it was necessary to take any more pictures. Taking pictures is also my preferred method so that I can refer back to these pictures when I'm planning on where to place my garden beds, containers, or grow bags. The next thing that we want to think about when choosing the best available space for our garden is having a handy water source. This pretty much means either having a sprinkler system set up or a municipal line where you can attach a hose or a drip irrigation system. Because if you don't have one of these very handy or nearby, you're going to have to use something like a watering can, which can get heavy, and it can be very tiresome if you have a larger garden. Having to carry around this much water can get heavy. Something else that you can consider for your garden's watering needs is to make some self-watering irrigation systems, such as using terracotta oyas or water spikes. The last thing that we want to consider when choosing the best available space for our garden is we want to have our garden on a surface area that is nice and level with well-draining soil. Well draining soil is very important for your garden because this will determine how much water your garden needs, how much it is getting, whether it is getting too much or too little. If you have a very clayey soil, it'll retain more water versus if you have a sandy soil. So you do want a well-draining soil. Watch our next video to learn a little bit more about soil texture and what we can do to help our soil. Based on the gardening tips that I gave, this is the area that I will be placing my garden. It does get a considerable amount of sunlight with some shade, which is perfect for a variety of different plants, as well as the water source is a couple of feet away in this direction, which will make it great for when I'm installing an irrigation system, versus the other area of my garden where it's very shady. This is the other area of my home where I was considering placing the garden. This might be great for other options such as brassicas and other shade tolerant plants that don't do so well in the heat, because it is a very shaded area, though it is a little bit further away from my municipal water line, and it would be a little bit trickier to install an irrigation system. It is still very much doable. It would just take a little bit more effort and planning. After deciding on the location where you want your garden, you can begin to fill up containers just like I am doing here. But if you decide to do in-ground gardening, please stay tuned for our next video where I will be showing you how to assess your soil structure and what to do if it needs to be amended.